we must understand that in this particular text, if you understand here, the Bible deals with Moses. Moses had an assignment. The Bible gives us, even if you look back into the historical beginning of this particular text here in Numbers chapter 13, where I'm dealing with our text in chapter 14. The beginning of this particular text has to do with Moses and the children of Israel. God had an assignment for Moses. If you go back in Genesis chapter 15, Genesis chapter 15 deals with Abram. How God told Abram that his seed will be as large, as big, and as expanded. He said, can you count the stars? Look up, he said, your seed will be just as expanded. Well, you cannot count it, but they shall inherit the promises of God. He told Abram where they will possess the land. He told them the boundaries of how much land and where the land was, the rivers. He was very specific in telling Abram what's going to happen. Not only did that, Abram went into a deep sleep, the Bible declares. And when he goes into a deep sleep, he begins to dream, and God began to tell him that your people will be in captivity for 400 years. He said, but they're going to come out of captivity. God sometimes will let us know what's going to happen, but we don't know the full story. But the Bible declares that the children of Israel were captive in Egypt. God sends Moses in Exodus chapter 3. He sends Moses down and says, Moses, he says, I hear the cry of my people. Moses, I need you to go down and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. Moses began to talk about his insufficiencies, his inadequacies, how he couldn't speak like everybody else. He was stuttering, but God said, listen, Moses, I'm not sitting you down there in your own power, your own authority. He says, Moses, when you get down to Egypt, he said, I need you to just tell Pharaoh that I am has sent you. See, the problem with us, we're trying to do our assignment in our own power, or we're trying to do our own assignment in your own ability and all of what you can do. But baby, in this hour, you need the I am that I am with you. In this hour, you need to be anointed for your assignment. In this hour, you need God with you, because God without man is still God, but man without God is nothing. And I can't afford to be nothing, walking up in my own abilities, walking up in my own talents. I need God. The Bible says that God hardens the heart of Pharaoh. He sends Moses down, but yet still God hardens the heart of Pharaoh. How is God going to send me to do something, then put the person against me that he sent there for me to do? The Bible said that Pharaoh's heart is hard, but it came a time that Pharaoh let the children of Israel go. They went through a process of different events that they had to go through, as many of us may know in the history of the children of Israel. And then it came to a place, God had promised them the promised land. But the Bible declares, and God promised them the promised land, they were in the wilderness for 40 years. They were wandering around in the wilderness, and while they were in the wilderness, people start being people. As long as you have life, you're going to have people. And as long as you have people, you're going to have people problems. And as long as there's people, people are going to be people. People started being people, the chosen people of God. The ones that God had chosen for such an assignment. They started being themselves. What do you mean? They were roaming in the wilderness, complaining about what was going on. Oh, we should have just stayed back in Egypt. They started complaining about the conditions. They started complaining about the situation when God had been sending the manna from heaven. He had been leading them by the cloud by day, fire by night. But people started being people. They started murmuring, complaining about the situation. So we have to understand that even though we don't understand what's going on and how God's going to do it, it's better to shut up than to murmur. Let me say it intellectually, like others would say, it's best for us to just be quiet than to talk about what we don't understand, because we'll find ourselves entrapping ourselves when God had already destined a time for us to move from where we are. So the Bible declares here in chapter 13, the Bible declares that God told Moses, I need you to send men to search out the land of Canaan, the land of promise, which I give unto the children of Israel. Of every child of their father shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them. And the Bible says that Moses began to choose a person from every tribe of Israel. If you look in verse 5 through verse 15, it gives you the specific names of every person that was sent from each tribe. He sent them out to go and to spy out the land. Go and spy out the promise. Have you ever wanted to really see your promise before it came to pass? Have you heard the prophecies? You heard the things that God said. That's why there's a picture of the promise that's out there, because the more we talk about it, we don't see it, the more we don't believe it. But there is a picture of the promise that's out there. And sometimes when we can see the promise, sometimes it can help some of us believe that it's going to happen. But baby, there comes a time in life that you might not see the promise, or he may not